All right, today we're going to deconstruct a real-life case of modern surveillance that comes straight from an incident report out of Trivandrum, India. And let me tell you, it's a fascinating and, frankly, a pretty chilling story. Let's get right into it.
So I want you to imagine this. What if you were being watched? But when you look at your security camera footage, nothing really jumps out at you as obviously wrong. And yet, you get this creeping sense of unease. You start to notice these tiny little details that just don't quite add up.
You know, like seeing the same person hanging around your neighborhood 3 different times in a single day, but each time they're wearing a completely different outfit? Or maybe you catch people on camera making these strange, almost ritualistic-looking hand gestures right towards your property. And then there's this. A food delivery bag pulls up. The driver just sits there for over 3 minutes and then just leaves. No delivery, nothing. So what is going on here? Well, these aren't just a few random, bizarre things happening. As one resident discovered, they were actually part of a month-long pattern of some highly suspicious activity. The scary truth was, they were being systematically watched. Just look at this timeline. This wasn't some one-off incident. This went on for over a month. It started out with something you might ignore, motorbikes just loitering nearby, but then it escalated. You had individuals who were hypervigilant, and then someone actually breaching the property line just to spit inside the compound. This wasn't casual. This was a targeted campaign. So what the resident was slowly piecing together wasn't just a random nuisance. It was a sophisticated reconnaissance operation. The people involved were following a very professional playbook. And there's an official term for this kind of observation: suspicious activity reporting, or SAR. It's basically a method that security professionals use to document and analyze behaviors that, on their own, might seem weird, but together suggest someone is in the planning stages of a crime. So, what were they actually looking at? The report calls it asset tracking. They were methodically studying the home's security features. You know, the placement of the CCTV cameras, the types of windows and gates, even watching the movements of the family dog to understand its patterns. Their whole process was simple, but honestly chillingly effective. First, covert recording, often using their phones held at weird angles like they're just on a call. Second, analysis, creating excuses to just hang around and study the environment. And third, evasion, using all kinds of tactics to avoid being identified. Okay, and this is where it gets really, really clever. The methods these individuals use to hide in plain sight are some of the most fascinating parts of this entire report. Hey, remember the 3 outfits in one day? The report actually calls these dress rehearsals. These individuals would change their clothes for every single entry and exit from the area. But the reason why is what's truly sophisticated. So why would you do this? Get this. It was a deliberate tactic to defeat automated security. A lot of modern CCTV systems use AI to build digital profiles of faces they see over and over. By constantly changing their appearance, they were trying to confuse that AI to prevent the system from ever flagging them as a recurring presence. That is not an amateur move. Now, this part is just brilliant. How they created these believable excuses to just be there. The report calls it scene generation. Think about it. A real delivery driver is in and out in less than a minute. Their fake one sat there for over 3. A real salesperson talks about their product. This one seemed way more interested in the location of the cameras. This just perfectly shows how they used normal, everyday activities as a perfect cover. And if the technical tricks weren't strange enough, this whole operation also involved a layer of silent and, frankly, really bizarre communication that the resident was diligent enough to document. The report specifically notes individuals making these really unusual hand gestures, sometimes while tilting their faces away from the cameras. They used gestures like the sign of the horns and were seen changing their finger positions as if they were counting assets. Come on. These weren't just random tics. This was almost certainly a form of silent communication. And this quote, this just perfectly captures the deeply unsettling nature of this whole thing. The report says the subjects showed a hyper-familiarity with the area. They moved with a confidence that suggested they knew the neighborhood inside and out, even though they were complete strangers. They knew the camera positions, they knew the escape routes perfectly. So, what was the ultimate goal here? All this meticulous planning and observation. What was it all for? Well, it was a systematic hunt for weaknesses. They were methodically probing for any vulnerability they could find. They checked parked cars for unlocked doors, what the report calls easy marks.
They physically tested the perimeter by walking up and spitting inside the compound gate. They even provoked a leash dog, maybe to gauge its response time or to create a diversion. This was all designed to find the weakest point of entry.
So, faced with this escalating and deeply concerning situation, the resident didn't just keep watching this unfold, they took formal action. The resident compiled their detailed logs and CCTV timestamps, even identifying a specific vehicle license plate, and submitted it all to law enforcement. They requested a full review of the footage, asked for increased monitoring of the street right after new incidents, and for mobile patrols to keep a closer watch during those quiet, early morning hours. That's exactly how you turn observation into action. This case is just a stark reminder that our security systems are not foolproof. Determined people can use our own technology right back against us, hiding in plain sight. And it really leaves us with a critical question. In an age where there's constant surveillance all around us, who is truly watching the watchers?